So, and for that, I'm proud of you. So my first interview, obviously many of you know him. He's a phenomenal man. And one of the hardest things to do is the art of selling and in the art of medical sales. And reason why it's so hard is because you have these inventors and they come up with great new tools or technologies in the medical field. And they're brilliant. And they literally could help change people's lives. But you're dealing with an institution, doctors and hospitals, who are always resistant to try anything new. And that is why this is one of the hardest things to do. Like, how do you convince someone who's been doing something a certain way, right? Doing something a certain way to literally like adopt something. And this person is one of the best at it. And I wanted to sort of get into the side about, which you also would have the ability to learn, how do you convince people who are hard-headed and don't like to change and introduce a new product, a new service, a new way of doing things. So please welcome my good friend Craig T, everyone. So Craig, I've always wondered this, right? Because a lot of doctors, especially in the United States of America, they're still like prescribing and doing things that they learned 25 years ago, and not everybody is looking at the latest trends and the latest everything. How do you convince people, because a lot of people may have this problem too, for people to go and change their perception, like try this new technology, try this new tool, try this new product. It will change you when people are set in their ways.
You know, commercialization in the med tech and health tech industry is one of the most difficult processes to master. And it's about asking the right questions at the right time that challenges the person to think through the treatment pathway. And when I'm talking to CEOs of med tech companies, health tech companies, even pharmaceutical companies, and asking them about their commercialization process, there's so many gaps that they don't see. And getting physicians, getting the C-level executives, getting the department managers on board is critical. And it's all about, once you get that access to have a conversation in front of them, it's asking those right questions that push and nudge, but don't kick the door down to offend them. And that's really the key to effective commercialization and getting the hospitals, surgery centers, endoscopy centers to at least do an evaluation to look at incorporating a new technology.
So let's say you get people to give it a try, but the implementation of the products, right? It's very similar to going and selling software, right? And you're like, I'm already using this. This is something new. It's disruptive. What's the one thing that makes people like, I don't think it's seeing is believing it. Is it trying is believing it? Or is it like, what do you do to incentivize people? Because people are often, they like to know what they know. Like, I've been using this, right? I've been, like, for so many years, even though this may be better. And a lot of times, new tools, new technology requires a learning curve. Doctors, and many people, this applies really industry. We're busy doing this. So the idea of learning it's like someone come in, this new AI will change everything, but there's a little work that needs to be done to implement that.
Yeah. So the new trends that are coming in are really AI, artificial intelligence, right? Whether it's software within the medical technology, whether it's advanced robotics in surgery, and getting them an opportunity to evaluate it at no charge is the key, right? And
to get inside the door.
Correct. And letting 5, 10, 15 surgeons, for example, if you're selling a surgical product, get them to try it, right, on a patient. Get them to even come to an education, professional education program to use it on a cadaver, use it on a simulation model. That is really the key.
I know it's out, but I watched the show Chicago Med, and there was last year there was like this whole thing where this billionaire comes in and it's all AI and the machine that tells you like what to do, the probability not to do anything, and the doctor is hard to embrace it, then embraces it, and then the machine malfunctions, hospitals at a liability. Like, I know it's a TV show,
Right.
but in the medical field, we're like, trying on a patient something, there's a risk if it doesn't work out the way. Maybe the technology is good, but how they use it, not. And with everyone getting afraid to be sued, a very litigious industry, but then there's a crossword of we need to innovate to make things better faster. Where is that line versus risk to reward?
It's all risk, to be quite honest with you. It is all
risk is change, I guess.
Right, absolutely. And that's one of the most difficult things when I'm talking with the C-level executives of a company that is commercializing a new technology or is working on a technology to get ready to commercialize. The way that physicians and the way that salespeople and the way that the executive levels people have been trained is how they move forward. So getting a fresh perspective, you say all the time, when was the last time you tried something for the first time, right? And I've used that phrase so many times, and people stop and think, and you could see the wheels turning in their head because they only know one way. And it's the way they've been trained. And coming from the startup world in my most recent decade, and before that, I was with Johnson & Johnson. And there is one way to cook a steak in their mind. And so you have to come in and show them another way to cook that steak. And that's the key to getting them to evaluate it, take the risk, go to a professional education event, put a field marketing program in place, put the right commercialization in place, and you attract. The key is to attract the end customer. Yeah. And I think so many companies are trying to push the door down. They're cold calling and they're constantly
and they're also trying to sell, which is the problem. And I think, and I do this in my business too, unfortunately you have to do a lot of things for free. But the problem was that when people don't pay, they don't pay attention, right? And that's the problem with free because it's so easy to have no responsibility. And at the end of the day, sometimes you got to think, it just takes one. And then maybe one tells another one, and it's a snowball effect. And the power of free is powerful, but it's also people taken granted. In closing, companies all over the world seek to hire you out in the medical field and also other fields of sales because you understand not only how you get to the right people, but also working with teams and introducing new products. What do you think, why so many companies seek you out?
I think it's because of my career been able to introduce new products, new technologies, new ways of advancing healthcare, right? And when people think of selling, they don't think of the global or the complete wholeness of commercialization. I bring in more than just selling. I look at their professional education process. I look at their overall commercial plan. When I ask a CEO or COO or even a chief revenue officer of a company, show me your commercialization plan, it is deer in the headlights. I literally will tell you 99.9% of mid-level stage startups, early stage startups, and either mid-stage growth companies don't have a commercialization plan, and I bring in that commercialization plan. And if they currently do have somewhat of a commercialization plan, I will find the holes and the gaps and bring those together.
I think what you do is one of the hardest things to do, and you're one of the best at it. And it just doesn't apply to medical. It really applies to every businesses as well. We know we have something that could change their lives. We just have to convince it to just give it a try and just stick with it. Greg T, everyone, thanks for being on.
Thank you.